Hey, good day. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Welcome. Gonna give it a few moments. Takes a minute for YouTube to send out notifications. Plus, it's in the middle of the day or middle of the night, depending on where you are. It's 2:47 Eastern Standard Time, and I've had this deck, the Sibyls Oraculum, Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa. I've had this since July. This was a gift. So appreciative of gifts that are books, cards, and plants. Music as well. Those are the gifts that keep on giving. I've never used this deck. I took it out once. I thought I'd share it with you, and I want to start to get acquainted with it. I'm not going to offer any one card readings with it today, but I just wanted to share this. It's the Sibyls Oraculum by Tayana Lee McKillar. Artwork by Caitlin Foisey. Includes 44 card deck and book. And believe it or not, this is the box, and it contains the book as well. Now I'll read to you a little bit of the back. The Oracle of the Black Doves is a system of divination inspired by the Libyan Sibyls, the African prophetesses of the classical world. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, two black doves flew away from the city of Waset, or Thebes, and established the Siwa Oasis Oracle in Libya and the first oracle in Greece at Dodona. Created by tarot reader Tayana Lee McKillar, this contemporary oracle pays homage to the oft-forgotten African founding mothers of the Sibylline traditions. Drawing on both the African and the classical traditions, it features full-colored paintings by artist Caitlin V. Foisey, who created the cards in a style reminiscent of the Libyan mosaics popular in the 1st century BCE. In the accompanying guidebook, McKillar details how to consult the oracle, providing in-depth write-ups about the meaning of each of the 40 cards and the symbolic language represented. Designed to directly address the spiritual lessons underlying the seeker's query, the oracle facilitates self-examination and decision-making, helping the seeker choose their best possible future by broadening their perspective of the situation. The author also includes the history of the Sibyls of the ancient world and explores the continuing Sibyl traditions in North Africa today. So there you go. All right, we're gonna open this up. Welcome, Christina. So here you go. It almost looks like it's a stone covering. This is the Sibyls Oraculum. Let me get a little sip of water. My voice actually sounds like it's gonna give out any second. All right. So then we open up the box. So I have opened this deck once since I've had it, and thought today it was time to introduce it and get a little bit more acquainted with it. And in case you're wondering what the saffron scarf is in the background, it is a Harinam scarf. Harinam, it is, Harinam means holy name. It's actually says Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama. And this reminds me of my Vaishnava days, which was, I don't know, 28 years. Actually, almost 30 years ago. Very wonderful time in my life in New Panihati Temple. in Atlanta, ISKCON, which is International Society of Krishna Consciousness. No, I never actually became an initiated devotee because I could not see assigning my spiritual well-being over to another human being. However, I did enjoy the devotional services in Bhakti Yoga, so that's why I love my Harinam scarves. Okay, so back to the Sibyls Oraculum. It's a beautiful guidebook. This is I think you call it like a 6x9 guidebook. Gives you different layouts, how to consult the oracle, a brief history of the Sibyls. The people, the contributions of ancient Libya, which some people may not realize it is in Africa. We are so used to hearing of the top countries in Africa and North Africa as being called the Middle East, but they are African nations that have been Arabicized. Let's see. Fundamental ethics of the Sibyls Oraculum. Gives you a structure, how to use them. The backings of the card come in black, copper, blue, and red. Black are issues cards, copper are projection cards. The blue are action cards, or cool action, and the red are hot actions. So this is very interesting. I'm sort of one who doesn't necessarily follow instructions. I usually do everything intuitively, so this is definitely going to be a book that will take some time to work through, but I will go ahead and show you what the various cards, the images on the cards. Okay. I don't know how well you can see that. This one is transcendence, and up at the top, I believe that's Latin. There's Latin up at the top, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the Latin. So that's transcendence. This one is accumulation. So the imagery and the artwork is sort of, it mimics very obscure, shadowy looking Libyan mosaics. It looks like, I don't know if there's a dragonfly. And see, I don't know if it's just my eyesight or what. My only issue with the cards is that there's not enough contrast, that the mute is so strong. The muted tones are so strong in this card. There's not a lot of contrast, and I wish there was just a little bit brighter, a little bit more contrast. Can actually see it a little bit better in the camera. But the concept of the cards is very beautiful, looks very archaic. This one is stillness, and you can just barely make out an ancient mosaic of an ocean of like water. And wow, that almost looks like an alligator. I would say that's a crocodile. Which ones are found in Africa? Alligators or crocodiles? I'm thinking, I have no idea. Maybe someone in the chat room knows. So that one is stillness. You know how an alligator or a crocodile sort of lies still and low in the water, waiting for the prey. This one is transformation. Abandonment. Sort of looks like a city wall that's been broken down, and you can see the darkness that lies ahead. Abandonment. Again, the artwork is a beautiful concept. Just not sure if it was tested. So, you know, it's like you need really, really bright lights to get a good grasp on what it is you're looking at, or maybe it could just be my eyes. I am not sure. I am not sure. This one is avarice. No, how do you say that? Avarice. And Okay, looking at this card, I cannot make out. It looks like a vase that's been cracked open, and all the coins or treasures that were inside sort of have fallen out. And it's either in front of a window or a doorway, seeming that which has been destroyed, treasures that are fleeting. I don't know. That's just what comes to mind. This one is measurement. This one is death. Mortem. Death. Complexity. This one is complexity. It is a beautiful deck. I just welcome angels here to observe the end. Welcome. It is it's beautiful. It's just the artwork, the cards were printed so dark. I think trying to make it obscure, darkened, mysterious is just a little bit needed to brighten it some. This one is nurturing. It's very interesting. What does that say? Almum. Nurturing. It's interesting. It's a mummy's. It's a skull for nurturing. Very interesting. Prioritizing. And looks like some type of mortar and pestle, maybe. I have no idea. It's hard to see that one. This one is speed. Now we can tell what that is, right? A chariot, horse, and wheels from a chariot. We get that one. That one's definitely speed. This one is purity. Purity. Looks like a bucket of water or white cloth. Is that a table? This one is submission. It looks like a canoe on water. What's nice about when you have really dark clouds, dark cards, you're able to really sort of focus on your inner intuition to see into the cards what is to be seen, I suppose. Purpose. The black dove flying off. Pride. Look at that beautiful stately vase standing on his tippy toes and the laurel leaves in the background. It's beautiful. This one is mirror. It looks like some type of gemstone mirror, maybe emerald mirror. I'm not sure. Speculo. Rage. Some type of beast. Not sure if it's a griffin or a Pegasus. It looks like there's fire. Looks like maybe there's a serpent nipping at the bottom. Definitely invokes the imagination. Thank you guys for being here. Please thumbs up this video. Please share it. This is initiative. And that looks like a seahorse to me. Like a little bit struggling in the water. Looks like a seahorse to me. Strategy. And that is some type of feline. Oh, and there's a little mouse at the bottom. So, of course, you know how strategic cats can be when they're about to jump on their prey. Strategy. This one is opposition. This I can see clearly. There's a lion, and there's a spear coming at the soft spots in the bottom, and a spear coming at the back. Opposition. This one is unity. It looks like water being poured into some sort of vessel. And I think those are some type of birds on either side of the vessel partaking of the water. Wisdom. This one is beautiful. It looks like a snake, a serpent or snake coiling up a tree. Is it the tree of life, the tree of wisdom, tree of knowledge of good and evil, tree of life, and the two knots on either side. Very beautiful symbolism. Again, I just wish that last coating of muting the colors was not on the cards. This is contentment or sufficiencia. I have no idea how that's pronounced in the Latin. Contentment. This one is detachment. It looks as though, are these dead flowers laying all around? Dead flowers, and you see a live rose right there, the petals becoming separated, and these look as though they're decayed. This one is, what does that say? Oh, justice. I think that says justice. Yeah, justice. And it's a heart. It's a depiction of the actual human heart. Justice. Vibration. Okay, I see a peacock in here. I see columns like pillars and some type of plant growing up. But definitely a peacock or a pheasant looking backwards. Some type of beautiful feathered bird. Speaking of feathers, this is questioning. You have two quills here, two pins, two quills, probably just two feathers. And it almost looks like a rune of some sort in the middle. How's everyone doing today? This is gratitude. It looks like a pear tree in the background, and there's an ox with a cart, and the cart seems to have various flowers or fruits there. That's gratitude. Okay, and this one is mysteries. You have a black dove or raven or crow, however you want to look at it, a black dove, a scroll. So it's like the Sibyls looking into the records. The artwork is beautiful, and I will say that I think it shows up a little bit brighter on the camera than it actually does when I'm looking at it. But also, there's not very good light in this room. There's no overhead light, it just have lamps. So this one is defense. And I don't know if that's like an ancient brass knuckle or exactly what that is, or some type of bone. I haven't a clue. And this one is analysis. And are these paddles? Are they staffs? There's some sort of tool, probably some sort of mathematical tool, I would think, judging from the name of the card, analysis. This one is synthesis, and I can recognize that one very easily. You have the African origin of the Ankh, and then you have the Greek mythos of the Pegasus. And so because as most people do know, and I don't know what they're teaching in the school nowadays, is that the Greek fathers borrowed all of their knowledge and information from ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, and Libya. And this is the synthesis card. And this one is doubt. So I don't know if that's like a hawk, but there's a serpent or a snake coiled around the bird of prey. And there's like this, for lack of a better term, all-seeing eye down at the bottom, 3 staffs jutting into it. This one is rhythm. Rhythm. That's a lyre or a harp, sorry. Looks like a hare and a heron. Very interesting. Optimism. Best I can say, this looks like a garden. Roses or daisies in a garden. Tulips or daffodils and daisies in a garden. Optimism. This one is limitation. An ancient dog on a leash. And is that a pomegranate tree? This one is desire. I see an apple. I see a blue lotus in a bowl. I see some type of red, mushy juiciness or something around the bottom of the base of the bowl. That is desire. And this one is play. And this one is really dark. It looks like, I don't know, some trees. I don't know if those are some huts at a riverside. Not sure. It's hard to see the card. This one is disguise. And welcome, Stephanie. Welcome. And thank you to Critical Break. Welcome. So I don't know if that's like, we are looking at the Sibyls Oraculum, the Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa. And this is disguise. Ooh, this one is aggression. And we can tell what that is, right? You have some spears or arrows. I think they're more than likely spears pointed at a scorpion. You are welcome, Stephanie. And this one is confusion. And there's lots of cobras hissing all around. I see some fish there too. Would not want to be at that party. And this one is lust. Lust. And it looks like a bed that's opened before, like a doorway to a balcony that's going outside into the black of the midnight. And you see just some red out there. So this is lust. All right, so those are the cards. And let's take a quick look at the book, what the book says. Okay. I'll read a little bit from A Brief History of the Sibyls. That's what I'll share right now. There will be a coming of the day when that which is hidden shall be revealed. And that is a prophecy from the Libyan Sibyl. This is the introduction, A Brief History of the Sibyls. The Sibyls Oraculum is an oracle inspired by the Libyan Sibyls. The Latin word Sibyl comes from the Greek word Sibylla, the etymology of which is debated, but is believed to be Phrygian. I believe that's how you pronounce it. The colloquial meaning, however, is prophetess. The word oracle comes from the Latin verb orare, which means to speak. The Sibyls were women of the ancient world who were reputed to possess the powers of prophecy or divination. They would go into trance and speak the will of the deity of the temple. The oldest oracle on historical record was the temple of the goddess Wadjet in Kemet, for ancient Egypt. Wadjet is one of Kemet's eldest deities and was symbolized by a snake or a snake-headed woman. Interesting. In modern times, or at least the last couple of 100 years, is always to make the snake or the serpent to be evil. And we see in ancient Kemet, in ancient Greek, in ancient Egypt, one of the oldest deities, which is goddesses, was Wajet, and she was symbolized by a snake or a snake-headed woman. Serpent symbolized divine authority, royalty, fertility, creative life force, rebirth, transformation, eternity, and immortality. Some of Wajet's epithets were the eye, she who loves silence, serpent mother, and she who brings truth and justice. Her oracle was located in Per Wajet, or Boto, as the Greeks called it, which existed during the pre-dynastic period. The pre-dynastic period. So that's like before the pharaohs, or at least the pharaohs as we know it, the pre-dynastic period, which is like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. While most people have heard of the Oracle of Delphi and are aware of the influence of the Nile Valley civilizations, that's all along the east part of Africa, from Egypt, ancient Kemet, on all the way down Ethiopia and on down. Although most people have heard of the Oracle of Delphi and are aware of the influence of the Nile Valley civilizations had on ancient Greece and Rome, few are aware that the Sibylline tradition began in Africa and that the Greek and Roman cultures were heavily influenced by ancient Libya. In fact, the original name of Delphi was Pythia, or house of snakes. Oh, that's where Python comes from. Pythia, pythons, or house of snakes, which later became one of the several titles of the Sibyl priestesses who presided over the temple. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, in the History of Herodotus, Book 2, Chapter 54, the oracular tradition of Greece and eventually Rome originated in Kemet. 2 black doves had come flying from Thebes in Kemet, one to Libya and one to Dodona. The latter settled on an oak tree and there uttered human speech, declaring that a place of divination from Zeus must be made there. The people of Dodona, here, let me put these cards over so those who are just joining us can see what I'm reading from, which is the Sibyls Oraculum. So where was I? Declaring that the place of divination from Zeus must be made there. The people of Dodona understood that the message was divine and therefore established the oracular shrine. The dove which came to Libya told the Libyans, they say, to make an oracle of Ammon. This also is sacred to Zeus. Such was the story told by the Dodonian priestesses, the eldest of whom was Promenia, and the next Timaret, and the youngest Nicandra, and the rest of the servants of the temple at Dodona similarly held it true. In the ancient Mediterranean world, the dove was a symbol of the soul. I didn't know that. I knew that the white dove was the symbol of the Holy Spirit. And I didn't know that the dove also symbolized the soul, the great mother goddess of innumerable names and her priestesses. Therefore, the reference to these 2 black doves dark-skinned women. From Thebes, Waset identifies them as Sibyls. Pindar, an early Greek poet, named the cluster of dazzling stars located in the constellation of Taurus the Pleiades, which means a flock of doves. Pleiades, which means a flock of doves. Did not know that. This star cluster is now known as the Pleiades, named for the seven sisters of Greek mythology, Maya, Electra, does that say Aleion? I think that's an E. No, that's a C. Alcyone. I'm probably not pronouncing this correctly, so forgive me. Teget, Astrope, Seleno, and Merope, who were inextricably linked to Africa. According to the story, the Pleiades' father was Atlas, the Titan, who carried the celestial sphere that is associated with the mountains of Libya. Atlas was also the name of a polymathic king of Mauritania, which is in Western Africa, who was an expert in mathematics and philosophy and was credited with the invention of astronomy until as late as medieval times. The ancient Egyptians, associated the Pleiades with the Taurian horned goddess Het-Heru or Hathor, and I believe that's also, is that Aset? No, that's Isis. Isis is Aset. Het-Heru. And the Libyan goddess Neith, as both were titled Queen of Heaven. The Sibyls of Dodona were also known as Pleiades. I know I am not pronouncing that correctly. Pleiades. That's Pleiades. The dove symbolism can also be found among the ancient Israelites, worship of the goddess Asherah, who was also known as the consort of Yahweh. The Hebrew Bible equates the Holy Spirit with the dove, and prior to the prominence of the cross in the 4th century CE, the dove was the dominant symbol of Christianity. So this is really interesting. I had no idea about the dove. Though we only see sparse and superficial representations of the Sibyls today, if at all, and almost none represented as distinguishable women of color. Of course, they were from Libya, and if you've ever really looked at pictorial images of the people of Libya, you will see that their skin tone is from light tan to the blackest black, and they're all native Libyans. You know, as it's been said, Africa is home to extremely diverse ethnic groups and very diverse DNA. They wielded a tremendous amount of power and influence throughout the ancient world. So that's the Sibyls. The Sibyls wielded a tremendous amount of power and influence throughout the ancient worlds. The Sibyls which are prophetesses, were consulted by the aristocracy prior to all major undertakings and provided comfort. Thank you, Christina, for sharing that. I hope I'm not boring everybody by reading it, but I'm actually kind of interested. It's very interesting, and I'm really happy to share this with everyone. I have about 10 more minutes before I have to leave to pick up the little one, but I'll share as much as I can and maybe inspire everyone to get their own copy of the Sibyls Oraculum. This is by Tayana Lee McQuillar, who is a tarot reader and researcher of religion, esoterica, and mysticism. She's the author of several books, including Root Work. She lives in New York City, And Caitlin Foisey is an artist, circle leader, and tarot consultant who has been featured in the New York Times, Elle magazine. Her work has appeared in exhibits throughout the United States and UK. She lives in Chicago. So the Sibyls guidance was consulted and sought out through all over the world. Let's see, the Sibyls were consulted by aristocracy prior to all major undertakings and provided comfort and spiritual guidance for all who sought them. So the Sibyls were the prophetesses, they were the oracles. If you think of like the movie The Matrix, the oracle in The Matrix, she would be a Sibyl. It is also important to note that prior to the advancement and ultimate supremacy of patriarchal values, the temples dedicated to Zeus, Apollo, Dionysus, hold on one moment, Dionysus, and other gods were originally the domain of the goddess. Thanks, Christina. You have an awesome day. They were originally the domain of the goddess Isis, Hathor, Tanit, Themis, Gaia, etc. After centuries of uninterrupted power, the Sibyls, temples, and mystery schools were all outlawed. With the advent of the Nicene Christianity, we all know about that, which is what has given us the world that we have today. The beginning of the end being Constantine's legislation against quote-unquote magic, which, if you think about it, that legislation against magic was basically a legislation against the feminine arts. If you think about it, the feminine arts. And private divination that was even more aggressively enforced by Constantius II. Anyone caught venerating the old deities, the goddess, the divine feminine, attending or performing ceremonies, practicing astrology, or consulting diviners was put to death. Why? If you think about it, to divine something is to get in touch with divinity, to get in touch with the divinity, to ask the source of life what needs to be done. That had to be squashed. So Constantine put an end to that to make sure that everyone only fixed their eyes on what the church was teaching. No, don't go within. Don't try to connect with source that way. Only focus on the church and the divine appointed representation of God on earth. That is your mediator. That is who you go to, not going within and getting your own connection with divinity. The sites of shrines, temples, and other sacred places were then converted to churches or administrative buildings for the new rulers, the new God and his clergy. Ironically, the patriarchs of the church would create false Sibylline prophecies to legitimate their teachings and rationalize their destructive acts to gain followers who still believed in and trusted the words of the Sibyls. As the pressure mounted to adhere to mono-patriarchal religions and their rules, people who didn't want to forfeit their ancestral beliefs and knowledge formed secret societies throughout Europe and beyond to avoid persecution. Sacred teachings and practices were redefined as evil by the new ruling class to maintain control and discourage a resurgence of interest in quote-unquote paganism. And all paganism simply means is that you follow the course of nature. You follow the course of your own ethnic ancestral heritage. Welcome, Denise. Welcome. Despite all efforts, esotericism has never been completely abandoned. And esotericism is the art of going within to understand the mysteries of life. The legacies of the Sibyls is still with us, even if the symbols and terminology related to these sacred women and the goddesses have been desecrated or repurposed to suit the narratives of the victors. For example, the English word hag originally meant serpent, but is now a pejorative for a quote unquote bad witch or a woman who is not sexually desirable to men, usually because she's old or ugly. A synonym for hag is gorgon. The connotation and association between the fear of and revulsion toward the dark, warrior, or crone aspect of the goddess and occult knowledge are clear. The Sibyls Oraculum was created to pay homage to the oft-forgotten African founding mothers of the Sibylline tradition and the amalgamation of spiritual concepts that made the ancient Mediterranean world interesting. It is interesting that the ancient Greeks and Romans, or at least the beginning was the Greeks, looked towards Africa and Libya in particular, Libya, as well as ancient Kemet, for their knowledge and their wisdom and in their understandings. And then Rome got theirs from Greece. So therefore you're cutting out the original and you're going to the middleman. And so then that gets slightly reinterpreted, and then it goes into Rome and on into the rest of Western society. But it's all been kind of perverted, polluted, adulterated, turned upside down. Things no longer have their original meaning anymore. What did we just read? Hag was originally a word that just meant serpent. And what did the serpent connect to? The divine feminine, to the goddess. But hag, we all know, at least in the English speaking world, that hag, that's probably one of the worst words that you can call a woman, beside the C word, 4-letter ends with a T, which, by the way, happens to be a word that I actually absolutely love. I love that word. It's a very strong and powerful word. I know I'm weird like that. But anyway, I'm going to read this one last part, and then I'm going to let this stream go here so I can get ready to go get the little one from the bus. Okay. The people and contributions of ancient Libya. Which is Tayana Lee McKellar, I thought it was important to take time to explain how different Africa was during the time of the Sibyls compared to what it is today. An examination of world maps throughout the centuries will show that the labels given to people and places shift quite often, depending on the needs of those in power at any given time. During the time of the Sibyls, the term Libya, let me see if I can pronounce this word, Tamazga, Tha or Thamorth, referred to the area now known as the Maghreb, which includes present-day Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Mauritania, and northwestern part of Kemet. The indigenous people of the region included the Nubians, the Beja, the Imazigan or Timazigan, which is the Amazigh or Berbers, And no, not all Berbers are like white skin. They are from brown and black to the fairest and pale skin. A significant number of the characters from the Greco-Roman pantheon mythology were originally Libyan deities and spiritual concepts. They included Athena, Poseidon, Neptune, Atlas, Ammon. Today is the first time I've ever heard of Ammon. The only Ammon I ever knew of was Reverend Ammon, who broke off from the Mennonites in the 1700s in Germany, and thus the genesis of the Amish people. The ones who followed Reverend Ammon became known as the Amish. So I never heard the term Ammon as an ancient deity. Next deity is Metis, Triton, Lamia, Hesperides, the Gorgon, which is Medusa, Stheno, and Euryale. I am probably totally wrecking all of this pronunciation, forgive me. Lotophagi, which are the lotus eaters, the Timeroi, the Grayae, this is Graeae, and others. Not only were ancient Libyans a profound source of not Amun-Ra, it's Amun. I don't think, is it Amun-Ra? Maybe. You might be onto something. I'm not sure. Gonna have to Google that one. I've heard of Amun-Ra, just not Amun. But that does sound like it would make sense. Not only were ancient Libyans a profound source of artistic and spiritual inspiration for other peoples of the Mediterranean, but the Roman Empire was also economically and politically reliant on Africa for its very survival. And just as Tayana had mentioned in the book, ancient Africa was not delineated as Africa is today, broken off into individual countries, the way the colonizers broke it off. In ancient times, Kush was not just Ethiopia, but included a vast array of North Africa, right on down, all the way over to India. So you had Western Kush, which was on the continent, and then Eastern Kush, which was India. And the way to tell the difference between the people, because they were all dark-skinned, brown, reddish burnt, black-skinned people, was the texture of the hair. And if you look, once you get into Ethiopia and on over to Yemen, the hair goes from somewhat kinky to curly, frizzy, and then going into straight. I mean, there's even people in Yemen who have afros, just like people in Africa. We don't really see that much on television. We only think of Arabs as looking one way, but there are places in the Arab world that Arabs look no different than what you would consider to be someone that would be called a Black American. The world is a bigger place than what media, what television, what the newscast tries to show us. And beautiful books like this, research and information, helps to remind us. I hope you enjoyed the reading from this book and the various cards. So check it out. Thanks for being here. Please thumbs up. Please like this video. Subscribe. Keep updated. I'm Tamu Ngina, Priestess Heart. I appreciate you being here today. Let's take a moment to remember our ancestors and all those who have transitioned before us. May you have peace and great bliss.